Well, sadly, you cannot win them all. What is going on, everyone? And welcome back to TTP Sports. I know I said I was going to start at 4:30, but I wanted to wait until Rob Thompson came on just to talk about Kyle Schwarber because he did leave this ball game early. So we called a break. We called a break with Kyle Schwarber because during this ball game, I believe it was the fifth inning. He walks, and then he immediately comes out of the ball game. Brandon Marsh comes out the pinch run. And we were thinking to ourselves, okay, why is Schwarber coming out? That looked like it was just planned out because after Schwarber walked immediately, Brandon Marsh just came out the pinch run for him, and Schwarber came out of the ball game. You didn't see Schwarber grimacing or holding anything right there, so it was just like, are they just being precautionary right here? Did he just pull something, or is it something that's the worst case scenario? Because every injury this year with the Phillies' top players has been the worst case scenario, but Rob Thompson said it himself on the post-game show in his press conference that Kyle Schwarber, he has a mild right calf strain, and he's only going to be day-to-day. They said, Rob Thompson said there is a chance for him to possibly DH during the Mets series, but they're just going to play the course and see how it goes, how he feels in the next couple of days. So I think the Phillies caught a huge break right here with Kyle Schwarber. Took him out to be very cautious. It's a day-to-day, mild right calf strain. So, hey, I'm not going to complain about this loss. You went 6-1 during this 7-game homestand. That is more than enough that you can ask for. You sweep the Washington Nationals, and you win the series over the Miami Marlins yesterday after coming back in the 8th inning against Sandy Alcantara, one of the best pitchers in baseball this year. So, yeah, you had your chances in the 8th, in the bottom of the 9th, especially with bases loaded and 0 outs. Bottom of the lineup, Sosa. It was questionable too because you have Scott out there on the mound for Miami. In comes Garrett Stubbs with 0 outs and the bases loaded. Pinch hit for Edmundo Sosa comes up, and you're thinking to yourself, wait, didn't Stott have the walk-off home run against Scott earlier on in the season? So why are we going to Sosa in this instance? Rob Thompson did also state he realizes that Stubbs had the walk-off shot, but he still wanted to get that righty-lefty matchup in there. So I don't know. That was Rob Thompson's call. So overall, I don't agree bringing in Sosa, even though Sosa put together a good at-bat, still ended up striking out, swung at ball 4. I'm not the biggest fan of that call by Rob Thompson, but then when you get to the bat, Bjorling at bat, he's swinging at everything, and it's basically just a game over at that point. So you do catch a huge break with Kyle Schwarber not being injured majorly. It's just a day-to-day thing, mild calf strain, and there is a possibility he can DH. I'm not going to scream at the wall on this loss. It just doesn't need to happen at this point. It just doesn't need to. You won, 6 in a row, 7 in a row coming into this game? You've won so many games in a certain span of a stretch. This is your first loss in probably over a week and a half. You won the homestand. You won these 2 series at home. That's the most important thing. You need to win series. Yeah, it does sting in the mouth a little bit when you have a chance to possibly win the ball game and tie it up in that 8th and the 9th inning. But I'm not going to scream. You're not going to score in every instance that you get. You do have a huge series with the Mets coming up, though. Very tough contests. I think it's Scherzer tomorrow, DeGrom on Saturday, and then I think it's Bassett on Sunday. So it's going to be a tough stretch for the Phillies team, definitely, for the offense too. Bullpen today still was very good. Very, very good. Connor Brogdon out there was solid. Then, who else? It was Knievel out there, Nick Nelson as well. All those guys were solid. And then even, also Kyle Gibson in this game he was shaky to start off. The defense definitely didn't help him. Gene Segura dropping a pop-up that he should have caught. I'm not sure if the sun got in the way because the weird thing during that play was you saw in the pop-up that the clouds were moving at that point. You saw the shadows and everything. So I guess Gene Segura lost the ball in that instance. Rhys Hoskins had an easy ground ball that he scooped and it threw him in front of himself, and Kyle Gibson couldn't recover to grab the ball. So defensive mishaps in that inning cost the Phillies some unearned runs in that situation. Gibson did settle down, but then he allowed a couple of more runs later in the ball game. So that is also, like I said, I'm not going to overly complain about this game. You don't win them all. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, definitely some questionable decisions in that aspect, but I'm not going to scream at the moon. I don't think it's worth it at that point. I don't think the team deserves to be screamed at the moon for the stretch that they're doing right now. The biggest thing, mostly at this point, if they lost this game, the biggest concern I was going to have was Kyle Schwarber. And then we found that out with now it's just a mild calf strain. That makes me feel 10 times better. It does, because it's only a day-to-day situation. You let him get the rest he needs. And if you could possibly DH during the Mets series, that'll be even better. That'll be even better. So it's going to be a tough stretch for this Phillies team, definitely. Just going into this game overall. You go into that first inning, okay, Kyle Gibson, he allowed the bases loaded with 0 outs, but he managed to get out of that situation. But then you go into the top of the second inning. Diaz, he grounded one to Rhys Hoskins. That's the fielding error right there on a ground ball that he should have had. Gibson gets the second out of the inning, and then Luke Williams, he popped it up, and this is a ball that should have been caught by Jean Segura. It doesn't, so that allows a runner to go to third base on that play. And then Joey Wendell comes up, he singles the opposite way, and he scores, makes it a 1-0 ball game. Phillies, honestly, for the Marlins, Edward Cabrera's on the mound. He was kind of nasty, kind of very nasty out there on the mound. The Phillies couldn't find a way to hit him. So, yeah, he was pitching good. Today just wasn't the offense's day. Like I said, I'm not going to kill this team tonight. I'm just not. They don't deserve it today. They don't. Phillies, they had their chances. Yes, they did. Bottom of the 8th inning. Well, actually, you go to the top of the 6th. This is when the Marlins tack on a couple more runs on Kyle Gibson. So he gets the first 2 outs of the inning, and then a couple of singles with 2 outs, and then a wild pitch allows a run to score, and then a double by Diaz allows another run to score to make it 3-0. So that's with, 2 outs right there. That can't happen from Kyle Gibson. So 1-0 lead, and then 2 outs in the top of the 6th inning becomes a 3-0 lead. So that should not happen, that instance, from Kyle Gibson. Maybe it puts, because at that point with the way the offense was going, it kind of looked like it was going to be a little bit out of reach just with the way Cabrera was pitching. But then you go to the bottom of the 8th for the Phillies. They start to get something going. Marsh, 1-out double. Rhys Hoskins works a walk. Then Alec Boehm gets absolutely boned by the umpire, who was terrible in this game. A very inconsistent strike zone. The same pitch that Alec Boehm struck out on was the same pitch that Rhys Hoskins walked on. So, yeah, the umpire behind the plate was goddamn garbage. Was insanely garbage. And then JT came up to pinch hit, and then he struck out. Then you go to the bottom of the 9th. Bases loaded, 0 outs. Nick Castellanos leads off with a single. Bryce and Stott singles. And Jean Segura works a walk. But overall, you bring in Sosa to pinch hit. Wasn't the biggest fan of that decision. Definitely wasn't. I would have rather kept in Garrett Stubbs. Sosa strikes out on a 9-pitch at bat. Had a lot of hittable pitches, but he strikes out on a pitch which would have been ball 4. Matt Vierling, not a good at bat. Took a lot of early strikes and basically took himself out of the at bat. And then Brandon Marsh grounded out on an 0-2 count. So, yeah, wasn't their day. Basically, that sums it up. Kyle Schwarber, before leaving this game, he went over 2 with a walk. Brandon Marsh came in the pinch hit, basically the replacement role, went 1 for 2. Rhys Hoskins goes over 3 with a walk. Alec Boehm goes 1 for 3. Derek Hall 1 for 3. Nick Castellanos 1 for 4. Bryson Stott 2 for 4. Jean Segura over 3 with a walk. Garrett Stubbs 1 for 3. Matt Vierling over 3. Phillies go 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position. And if you look at Kyle Gibson's stat line, 6 innings pitched, 6 hits allowed, 2 earned runs. 1 of those was unearned, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts on 90 pitches. Nick Nelson only needed 7 pitches in his 7th inning of work, 1 strikeout. Corey Knebel only needed 12 and got 1 strikeout. And then Connor Brogdon, he allowed a hit, but he struck out 3 in his top of the 9th inning of work. So, yeah, basically, it just wasn't the offense's day. Edward Cabrera for the Marlins, he was just nasty out there. The dude throws a 94-mile-an-hour changeup. If that's an unhittable pitch, I have no idea what else is. Like, seriously, how do you throw a 94-mile-an-hour changeup? How is that even classified as a changeup at that point? That's just mind-boggling how the dude throws 94 miles an hour on a changeup. I just find that weird. I do. So, yeah, it's a huge sigh of relief with the Schwarber situation. It definitely is. Because we were thinking to ourselves, what did he do? What did he do to get taken out of the game? They're saying he felt it like during the 2nd and the 3rd inning. So maybe they were, like I said, Thompson was just being cautious in that standpoint. He let Schwarber take the at bat and he worked a walk. He would have came out of the ball game. So basically, it was premeditated at that point that Marsh was going to come into the game regardless for Schwarber after that at bat. So right calf strain could have been way worse. It's a day-to-day situation. It's a possibility that he can DH during the Mets series. So this Mets series is going to be tough. It really is for this Phillies team. You're going to have your best pitchers on the mound this series, but in the final 2-game stretch. In the first game, you're going to have Ranger Suarez going up against Max Scherzer. And Max Scherzer for the Mets has been unreal this year, 8-2 with a 1.98 ERA. Even though he did miss a lot of time, he's still Max Scherzer, and he looks like he just gets better with age. 120 strikeouts, a .90 whip. His past couple of games, 7 innings, 0 earned runs against the Braves. He gave up 2 earned runs against the Nationals, 0 earned runs against the Yankees, 7 innings, 6 2/3 innings, 7 innings, 6 innings, 6 1/3 innings. So overall, Max Scherzer is just Max Scherzer. You already know the story with him. So Ranger Suarez is going to have a lot on his table to try to basically equal Max Scherzer at that point. And then you're going to have on Saturday's matchup a huge start for Aaron Nola, as he's going to be going up against Jacob deGrom, the first time the Phillies are seeing him in a while. Jacob deGrom, just coming back off of his rehab stint, has been nasty since coming back on it, on a pitch limit, but most likely that's going the Rays going into Saturday's game. He's 1-0 on the season with a 2.53 ERA, 18 strikeouts, and a whip of .47. He's pitched 2 games so far, 5 innings against the Nationals, allowed 1 run, 6 strikeouts, and then he pitched 5 2/3 innings against the Braves with 12 strikeouts and allowed 2 earned runs. So most likely, I feel like we talked about this yesterday. I think the pitch count, he was at like 75 or something like that in his previous couple of starts. It's most likely going to be raised. So, yeah, at this point, the Phillies have a lot on their table. Winning the series, it's going to be a very, very difficult thing to do against deGrom and Scherzer. Is Kyle Schwarber going to be playing this series in the DH role? I have no idea. We're just going to have to see how it plays out. The offense has been on the roll as of late, but you are going up against 2 of the best pitchers in baseball this weekend. So it's going to be a lot to prove there. A lot to prove. I'm still very excited for this series. I can't wait to see this Phillies team play against this Mets team. The bullpen's been way better. I can't wait to see the bullpen in action. I want to see how this lineup goes after this Mets pitching. I do. I really want to see how they figure out how to go after Max Scherzer, even though he's been nasty this year. I want to see how this lineup that's been a lot better over the course since June go up against Scherzer and deGrom. And then on Sunday's matchup, you're going to have Zack Wheeler going up against Chris Bassitt. Chris Bassitt, he's been good for the Mets this year, a 9-7 record with a 3.39 ERA, 129 strikeouts, a whip of 1.12. His last couple of outings, he went 8 innings against the Reds, only allowed an unearned run and struck out 8. He went 7 innings against the Nationals, allowed 0 earned runs, struck out 4. Against the Marlins, he went 6 innings, allowed 4 earned runs, struck out 2. Against the Padres, he went 7 innings, struck out 11. And against the Braves on July 13th, went 6 innings and struck out 6, only allowing 1 earned run. Have the Phillies faced Bassitt this year? I believe they have, if I'm looking at it so far. If I look at his recent games. Did he pitch at all? Yes, he has pitched against the Phillies this year. It was on May 29th. That was when he faced the Phillies, and the Phillies, they won that game 5-4 in extra innings. The Mets did. He went 6 innings in that ball game, allowed 1 earned run. He struck out 7 and walked 3 in that ball game. I believe that game was in New York. Yes, it was. Okay. That was a game the Phillies lost in extra innings to the Mets, I believe. Was that an ESPN game? I'm honestly not entirely sure. Yeah. I still can't wait for this Mets series. It's going to be very, very exciting. And no, Sean, I'm not going to be focused on the Eagles tomorrow. They'll probably be side TV. They're not going to be the main television. The Phillies are going to be the main television, Sean. They're going to be the main. My eyes going to be glued to that screen watching Phillies baseball against the Mets this weekend. Yeah, I do question that decision, Sean, with bringing Sosa in. I definitely do, because Garrett Stubbs had the walk-off home run against Scott earlier this year, so that's a questionable decision by Rob Thomson, definitely. Bullpen did a good job today to keep us with the opportunity to win. Oh, definitely. Yep, exactly. If the Phillies had tied the game and sent it to extras, who would have played catcher? That is a good question. That is a very good question. I think Rob Thomson was just banking on winning the ball game in the bottom of the 9th. at that point. Really hope this doesn't mess up our momentum going into the Mets series. I don't think it's going to. At this point, this is a game that you can just throw into the trash because if you look at the entire homestand in general, you won 6 out of 7 games. That was a very successful homestand, probably one of the most successful homestands that you can ever have. So look at what you did during this homestand. The offense was really good. Yeah, you played a bad Nationals team, but you also managed to beat Sandy Alcantara yesterday, coming back in the bottom of the 8th inning, getting some clutch hits in there. So I don't think this one loss is going to phase them. Maybe the energy got zapped out of them a little bit after Schwarber left the ball game. They tried the rally in that 8th and the 9th inning. Should have been bases loaded in the 8th inning as well, but boom, got screwed over with that strike call. And the bottom of the lineup was not able to come up clutch with the bases loaded in the 9th inning. So it happens. You don't win every ball game. You don't come up clutch every single time. That's baseball for you. Sometimes you do it a lot. Sometimes you don't do it a lot. Kind of the version of the Phillies played earlier. Kind of the version of the Phillies earlier in the year. Shady defense, a lot of strikeouts, and questionable managing. Yeah, it was just a bad game. That's basically all how you sum it up. I do expect them to bounce back, though. They've been proving that to us more times than not over the stretch that they've had. Win the series, win more of them throughout the year than losing them, taking care of business. Basically, that's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. I'm not even, honestly, if I'm going to be honest here, I'm not even begging them to beat the Mets. Not that aspect. I'm not begging them to win the series against the Mets. I feel like at this point, if you can find a way to win one game, and if all the games are competitive, if you find a way to get a win against the Mets, and then you look towards the next series against the Mets at home, because next weekend series in Citizens Bank Park against the Mets, that might be a better time for the Phillies to beat them in a series because they're not going to be facing DeGrom and Scherzer that series. So asking to win 2 or 3 when you're facing DeGrom and Scherzer, it's kind of a tough task in that situation. If you can find a way to win one of those 3 games, I'll be happy. If you find a way to win 2 games against the Mets this weekend, I'll be ecstatic. I would. I definitely would. If you find a way to win 1 game, I'll be okay with it because you're going up against 2 of the best pitchers in baseball. It's going to be a very tough task. So we're going to see how it goes out, but I'm still very excited for this series nonetheless. Hate to say it, but thinking it could be a precursor of a lot of scoreless innings from Scherzer and DeGrom against the Phillies. Yeah, definitely. I can definitely see that happening because Scherzer and DeGrom are 2 of the best pitchers in baseball. But this Phillies offense, sometimes over the, this stretch that they've had, they don't care what pitcher they're facing on the mound. They beat Sandy Alcantara a lot of times. Granted, Sandy Alcantara is playing behind a Marlins team that's not good. And Scherzer and DeGrom are playing behind a New York Mets team that's way better, way 100 times better than the Marlins. So yeah, there's definitely a difference there. Another game that endorses automatic balls and strikes. Oh yeah, definitely. The umpire behind the plate was not good. Maybe not. The biggest weakness Scherzer has is giving up home runs to strength the Phillies. You never know. I know Kyle Schwarber, he hit 2 home runs against Scherzer this year earlier on in the year, but still it's not guaranteed Schwarber's going to be playing in this series with the calf strain because he is day-to-day. Rob Thompson said there's a possibility he could DH. We'll see how it goes. We'll definitely see. Other guys are going to have to step up in that place. Alec Boehm still has been really good. Rhys Hoskins went a little bit quiet in the series, but Rhys Hoskins does like to play in Citi Field, so hopefully he gets energized for this weekend. Nick Castellanos, hopefully he can find a way to get that swing going. Derek Hall, Bryson Stott. Bryson Stott has actually been really good against Max Scherzer early on in his career. I feel like in both of the games that he's played against Scherzer, he's gotten hits. So who knows? Who knows what happens? JT has been rejuvenated. Can't wait to see JT this series. So hopefully. Scherzer usually owns us. And now that Schwarber is ailing, if the Phillies can manage 1 win in the series, oh yeah, basically, yeah, exactly. I'll take 1 win in the series if they can find a way to do it. The way the Phillies have been hitting and pitching, especially the bullpen, we have to feel good about going to New York. Oh, especially. I'm very confident in this bullpen. Very confident. Could easily see the Phillies taking 2 or 3, even potentially a sweep. Game 1 will be vital to Mets' goal. Over the next 11 is honestly 6-5. So, yeah. If the Phillies can find a way to win 1, I'm going to be happy. This is going to be a very tough series. For both teams, honestly. Phillies have a lot to prove going up against a very tough opponent. And for the Mets, this is not the same Phillies team that they played in May and April. So it's going to be a tough contest for them to not, I would say, overestimate them. Because The Mets made easy pickings of the Phillies in the first 2 months of the season, but this Phillies team is now different. Now let's see how these two teams match up. Let's see. Anytime you go against Scherzer and DeGrom, there are a lot of scoreless innings and strikeouts, but up to our pitching to keep us into the game, make both of these guys work and go get to their bullpen. Exactly. That's what you got to do. DeGrom, he's going to be on the pitch count, but most likely it's going to be raised. I feel like we talked about that. They said 90 pitches or something like that. So if you can find a way to work DeGrom, he's going to be nasty regardless. If you can find a way to get him out in that 5th, 6th inning, maybe you're good. You got to find a way to get the Scherzer, though. Maybe this will be a game that Scherzer has off, but Scherzer has rarely had an off game this year. So if you can find a way to hit the long ball against him, like Casey said, and Ranger Suarez has a really good game tomorrow, maybe you can find yourself in a win. Bases loaded and no outs. Oh, yeah, that's been an issue all year. Hopefully the stadium isn't swarmed with Mets mania. Oh, yeah, it's going to be. It's going to be. Momentum is as good as the next day's starter. I don't know. The next 2 starters the Phillies could face could kill the momentum, but it's only still August 8th. I'm not worried at all because, yes, you're playing the Mets for a lot in these next span of a week and a half. But then basically sprinkled in with the Mets, you're playing the Cincinnati Reds. And then you play the Pirates. And then you play the Diamondbacks. And then you play the Giants. So after this stretch against the Mets, you're playing a lot of teams under 500. So if the Phillies slump against the Mets, you have all these other teams against 500 that you've been crushing this year. So it's one of those ways you can get your momentum back. I feel like Mr. 89 was talking about the series in Philadelphia next week. If Schwarber can't play against the Mets, it's going to be hard to win. I'm just sick of Mets fans acting like there's team. What's the Cardinals score now? I can check that for you. It is currently 2-2 in the 6th. 2-2 in the 6th. Let's see any other good comments in here. Biggest matchup will be Scherzer DeGrom versus the rookies. How they handle the veteran pitchers. Exactly. Mets fan. Oh. No, actually, Julian, the Mets fans that are in my streams are honestly not arrogant at all. They're not. I actually get good Mets fans in here, so that's pretty shocking. But hey, I enjoy Casey. I know Dr. Drew is a Mets fan. I don't think he's in this chat today. But overall, the Mets fans that I get in my streams aren't overall show-offy. Like, yeah, you'll eventually get the trolls. Like, when you get to the Mets series, I'm sure I'm going to get a Mets troll this weekend or two, most likely. But overall, the Mets fans that I have that are subscribed to me are actually pretty nice. So, can't ask for more. The Phillies and the Braves fans do. Oh, all fun and games. That's all it is. I know this. Edmundo Sosa better not sniff the field in this series unless it's for defensive late. It's basically, yeah, the Mets don't have any left-handers in their rotation, so I don't expect Sosa to be playing in the infield at all this series. Most likely just as a defensive replacement. After seeing the Reds this week, they can sneak a game against you with the offense, but you get ahead early and they roll over. Yeah, basically. The Reds don't have good pitching. Their only good pitcher is Hunter Green, their young starter. And has he even been pitching lately for them? I'm honestly not even sure. You think we should try just to hit the get on base? Hitting long ball seems to be a long shot versus the Mets. Well, Casey said Scherzer's weakness this season has been giving up home runs. Honestly, if I look at Scherzer's stats this year, just so I can see how many home runs he's actually given up. Max Scherzer, he's given up 8 home runs this year. Okay, that's not a lot. But according to Casey, that's basically been his main weakness this year. So if you can find a way to wrap up that total, you're golden. But I'm not expecting that much. Basically, you have to do what you did against Sandy yesterday. Get on base, get clutch hits. That's basically all you got to do. You just got to hope that Ranger Suarez can find a way to match up the Scherzer and keep the Mets bats quiet. That's what you got to do. Rangers got to find a way to keep this Mets lineup quiet and keep you within the ball game. Same thing with the bullpen. Same thing. It's all you got to do. Yeah, basically, I think at the end of the day, that's it. Really not much going on today. Yeah, the Eagles do play tomorrow, but it's preseason games. They're gonna, the starters, if they even do play, they play 1 or 2 snaps, and then that's and basically all the other guys come into the ball game. That's it. So Eagles, they're going to be secondary television. Phillies are going to be primary television. I do hate another Apple TV game tomorrow, so we got to deal with the Apple TV broadcast again. And then I don't believe the rest of the series is on national television. No, I don't think it is, at least. Yeah, tomorrow's Apple TV. Okay, the rest is not on national television. Saturday is on NBC Sports. Sunday is on NBC Sports. It's next week. You got a Fox game next week. Okay. Sean says to beat Scherzer and DeGrom, you got to take chances and do the unexpected. Bunting, double steal. Yeah, I do think that the Phillies are going to find a way to, I feel like they'll find a way. I'm not going to say it's going to happen just because you are facing Scherzer and DeGrom, but this Phillies team has proven to us in the past few months they are a completely different team. And the Mets have to be prepared for that. DeGrom and Scherzer, they're still very nasty. So we'll see what happens. Realistically, pitching-wise, Ranger Suarez needs to be aggressive in the strike zone. It could backfire, but the Mets do not chase a lot of balls. So if he nibbles, the Mets will gladly take walks. So yeah, the Mets are definitely a team that has not struck out a lot this year. I think they're one of the best teams in the league in terms of not striking. One of the best teams, at least, in terms of not striking out. Apple TV ensures no Key Fernandez. But he said he was taking off the series regardless. But who knows? Who cares? I feel like they would have, if it was a Peacock broadcast, I think Key Fernandez would have been one of the other color commentators along with one of the Phillies color commentators. That's what they do with the Peacock broadcast. They get the main Peacock guy, and then they get two of the color commentators from the other broadcast, like one from each team's broadcast, basically. So, what are you going to do? So, you got this 3-game series against the Mets. Then you're going to have a 3-game series in Cincinnati. Two of the games during the week are at 6:40, then a 12:35 game. That's weird. Then you got a 4-game series at home against the Mets, a 4-game series at home against the Reds, and a 3-game series at home against the Pirates upcoming for the rest of August. You also do end the month of August on a West Coast road trip in Arizona and San Francisco, but there's a really huge stretch for this Phillies team to prove who they are. They've been really good. They won 6 they won 6 of 7 on this homestand. They won 7 in a row previously. This is probably their first loss in a while. The Phillies, last time they lost was that game against the Braves last week. So basically a week and a half since their last loss. So that's really good. And we're just going to have to see how they face up against this Mets team now. Completely different Phillies ball club. Mets are still one of the best teams in the league, and you're going up against 2 of the best pitchers in the league. Let's see how this series goes out. Yes, Apple TV sucks. I do agree with that, Casey. But yes, both Apple TV and Peacock suck. They do. I agree with that. I wholeheartedly agree with those points. So, yeah, I think that is where I'm going to end it, everyone. Going to enjoy it. I'm actually going to watch the Field of Dreams game, surprisingly, because I was planning to do that because there's probably nothing else on tonight. I just hate that the matchup is the Cubs and the Reds in the Field of Dreams game. Like, I kind of hate that. I don't know. I just feel like that's like one of the worst matchups in the world, Cubs and Reds. I understand, like, yes, both those teams have one of the longest histories in baseball, but it's just like it's not the best matchup because both teams are not good. So hopefully the game will be entertaining, but maybe for a national audience it's not going to really buy in. The Cubs probably draw a national audience because they're the Cubs, but overall it's not the best matchup in the world. One more question right here. How many more games did the Phillies have against the Braves this year? I believe they have 7 more games against Atlanta this year, and they're both in September. They have a 3-game series in Atlanta from September 16th to the 18th, and they have a 4-game series in Philadelphia from the 22nd to the 25th of September. So they play them 7 more times. And for the Phillies in this upcoming stretch against the Mets, this is the final time these two teams will play each other. This 3-game series this weekend, and then the 4-game series next week. So basically 7 more games between the Phillies and the Mets. And that season series is over and done with. So, yeah. It's going to be a very fun weekend. If the Phillies can find a way to pull 1 win against 2 of the best pitchers in the league, I'll be very happy with that. Let's see what happens. Thank you, everyone, for joining the live stream. As always, do not forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. I like to read those. Also hit the subscribe. Also hit the like button. And also check out everything in the description below. Painted Lines BrodesMedia. I definitely recommend that. I recommend hitting the subscribe button. It goes a very long way. And also using the code TTPSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase at SEATGEEK. Definitely, I recommend it. Use it for any upcoming Phillies home game or road game, whatever you want to do. It's a great deal. Do not pass it up. Thank you, everyone, for joining the stream, and I will see you next time.